SCP. Secure, Contain, Protect. SCP is the umbrella term for a community writing project stemming from a 4chan post in a paranormal forum in 2007. The original post was made by an anonymous user who was later identified as Wesley Moto42 Williams. Today, SCP has its own website, with over 7,500 catalogued objects and thousands more short stories. All of these pieces of writing circulate the SCP Foundation, a sort of shadow government organisation that specialises in finding and containing anomalous objects and entities. Their mottos best display this, the main one being the acronym Secure, Contain, Protect. The main one being the acronym Special Containment Procedures, and less known but equally understandable being We Die in the Dark, so you may live in the light. Now, of course this universe spans more than just the SCP Foundation, with many other groups like the Serpent's Hand and the Chaos Insurgency. As a community writing project, it's hard to explain the true expanse of the SCP Wiki, and that is why I'm starting this series. That's right, I'm going to be taking you on a journey through the SCP universe, mainly focusing on the expansive lists of items and entities with an occasional deep dive into a character or a tale. It's truly incredible the quality and quantity of works that are on this site, so let's give them the spotlight. Perhaps not necessary, but definitely interesting to learn about, are some of the recurring characters within SCP Tales. The majority of these individuals are members of the Foundation, and I feel like one of the best ways to get to know a bunch of them at the same time is through a reading. So the tale that I will be reading to you today is Routine Psychological Evaluations by Dr. Glass, written by the user Pair of Ducks. This tale is written from the perspective of Dr. Simon Glass, a member of the Foundation who acts as a psychologist. Firstly, we have his evaluation of Dr. Clef, a researcher at the Foundation. This first interaction does a wonder of displaying the aloof nature of Dr. Clef. Firstly, refusing to respond to his name, and instead handing Dr. Glass a ukulele with which to play an A major chord, or alto clef. It also appears that Dr. Clef has entered the interview room with cinnamon twists in his nostrils. He even asks Dr. Glass if he would like one, to which Dr. Glass questions if he has any not in his nose, which he does not. Dr. Glass attempts to begin the evaluation, before noticing that Clef has somehow managed to get a hold of a shotgun, ending the first log of their evaluation. Later on we hear more, where after a prolonged period of silence, Dr. Glass attempts to strike conversation again. Dr. Clef immediately interjects, saying, "I've been thinking of killing everyone on the base," then pretty immediately attempts to gaslight Dr. Glass into thinking he never said that. Pretty quickly, by flustering Dr. Glass, Clef gains quite a bit of control over the situation, and basically ends up analysing Glass themselves, eventually leading to themselves being able to get out of this evaluation. This already shows us quite a bit about Dr. Glass and Clef. Dr. Glass being a fairly sane and typical man, while Dr. Clef is characterised as aloof, manipulative, and insane. This is a feature which we will come to find from quite a few of these personnel. Next up, we have the interactions between Dr. Glass and Dr. Bright. Immediately, it is apparent that Dr. Bright, at this moment, is a monkey. An important thing which will be touched on at some point is Dr. Bright is the user of SCP-963. an amulet which technically grants immortality to its wielder, however in a rather abstract way. Later on, Dr. Bright is heard lamenting about how the Foundation doesn't trust him, since he doesn't particularly want to be the body of some SCP. Dr. Glass attempts to comfort Bright, to which Bright responds that he's working on getting a new body, and appears particularly interested in Dr. Glass's hands. Dr. Bright is a very interesting character, and probably one of my favourite from the Foundation. There are a lot of tales which I had hoped to go into in some detail at other points. However, I want to understand that his main characterization is similar to Clef's, although perhaps slightly more sane. Interacting with Dr. Kondraki is a rather violent description, where it appears Dr. Glass has asked what Kondraki's favourite moment working for the Foundation was, where Kondraki has responded about shooting someone's face off and blowing it up, basically. Future dialogue is similarly violent, with Dr. Kondraki relating an account of starting a gunfight with several Level 2 personnel over a failure to replace the filter in the coffee machine. The characterization of Dr. Kondraki is incredibly violent, and one of consistent behaviour. Kondraki isn't a character that I am particularly well versed in, however it is made quite clear that he handles most situations in a fairly similar way. The excerpt from the evaluation of Dr. Wrights is rather short. However, it fits her characterization very quickly. While I won't read the log, Wrights' characterization is outright sexual, and a lot of her character in overall stories and tales is of a sexual nature, especially her relation with other members of the Foundation. The final log of note is between Dr. Glass and Dr. Gears, where it appears Dr. Glass is attempting to administer a Rorschach test on Dr. Gears. The characterization through these logs is of Dr. Gears' very analytical nature, where he completely fails to see anything in the Rorschach test other than a symmetrical ink blot comprised of what appears to be black 4 ink, with the paper folded in the middle, and with him concluding that it's a Rorschach test, correctly of course. This continues, and once again, although through different means, becomes much more of an insight into Dr. Glass than Dr. Gears. However, it is made clear that Dr. Gears is a very interesting and emotionally absent character. Dr. Gears is very important to a lot of my favourite tales within the Foundation, and a lot of their canons that he can lead down are very interesting. While understanding these characters isn't exactly necessary, it does make for a better understanding of the Foundation and its workings, and that a lot of the personnel don't have all of the screws quite tightened up. If ever I come across something which I didn't cover in this series originally, I will return and make another explained video, but for now, this is where I will leave this. Thank you very much for watching and listening to these, and I hope you have a fantastic time reading SCP.